Tammy, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Hi, Hannah. I am so excited too. I've been waiting for this over the last couple of weeks.
Oh my goodness. Me too. We were chatting a little bit before we started recording about what you're creating and just the timing of this and what you're about to bring into the world. And I know that everybody listening will really resonate with the work that you're doing. We actually met, I had the pleasure of meeting you in person in Austin back in the summer. And I swear, Austin has the coolest people. I knew right then, and I'm like, I got to get her on the podcast. So, just so excited to talk about what you do. So, if you want to take this opportunity and share what it is that you do, what is this project that you're working on?
Well, thank you, Hannah. Yeah, I mean that day that we met, it was like a mastermind that one of our mutual girlfriends held
Shout
together.
out to Ellie.
Hey, Ellie. But it was just like sitting in that room and like witnessing like each and every one of you, and like also like I feel like I was like really drawn to your energy, but just like in awe of like everyone in that room. And here we are today. And so right now I am working towards launch of my company called Vōlva. It is a platform that empowers women from menstruation to menopause with natural products, resources, community. And it's something that I've been nesting for like the last 4 years. And so finally to see like all the tangible pieces come together, I I'm over it. Like I'm in space. Like I am so excited. And so yeah, this is my I saw a video the other day of like Rick Rubin saying like how the work that we do, like or art, is a devotion to like whether of God or to whoever you believe your God source is. And so I feel like this is like my devotional offering right now to women and also to myself and my inner child.
Ooh. And well, when it almost feels like when it's a devotional offering, it is all parts of you. It's like
Mm,
past part, present part, future part. It's like the whole picture. So just feel that
yeah.
radiating from you. And also Rick Rubin, I feel like his work is really just like out there in the space right now because he's
Yeah.
really a voice to following your art and following your purpose and following that like call towards what's moving through you right now. And whew,
Mhm.
it really feels like you're answering a call because I feel like this work is so needed right now. And not only normalizing this conversation and creating these safe spaces to talk about our vulva, but creating community to really connect in that conversation. We as women, like we are community based. So I'm so excited for all that you're creating. And I just wanted to point something out. And you said that you've been working on this for 4 years, and I think that that's really important because it's when you really are following the pull or following the call, that's something that cannot be rushed as much as we want to rush it, as long as we've known, like, okay, I know that this is a part of my work and I know this is a part of my purpose. It
Yeah.
can't be rushed, but it's like when you know it's time, like there's just so
Yeah.
much energy and trust behind it. So just really
So
celebrating
true.
that process for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's so true. Like it's funny because the other day I was looking at photos from like again like 4 years ago when I first like had the idea to create this, and realizing like then I wanted it to come to life so bad. But like even just seeing that, when you look at yourself and like in pictures and you're like, oh, she is a completely different person than who she is now. And realizing that like as much as I wanted back then, I was not ready to be that. I was not ready to hold the space to be able to do this.
Mhm.
And really understanding like, okay, why there was like all these roadblocks and like why this like wasn't really coming together was because I was getting ready both like my soul and everything to be able to hold the space to create this and what it's going to require from me moving forward. And so, yeah, it's just kind of a beautiful, I guess, like metamorphosis sort of process of what that also was the last 4 years.
I love the way you said that. It is a metamorphosis, and I'd love to hear more about that journey and how you prepared. But I'm curious, how did this work call you? How did you know that
Yeah.
this is what you were supposed to be doing?
So I think like so for me growing up, I've always like was the friend that had all like the dirty jokes and sexual innuendos. And the way the company is spelled is Volva, not Vulva. And my
Mhm.
last name is Vo. So like I'm literally made for this.
Literally, oh my goodness.
Literally. But also like I lived in Singapore for about 5 years, and um I was shopping for organic tampons one day, and I was just like, why is it difficult for me to get organic tampons in one of the most developed westernized Asian countries there are? And I was just kind of seeing a gap. And I think just like you and like any entrepreneur, like if you see a gap in something or an opportunity, you're like, that's a great business idea. But like even deeper than having the idea, I also just had this like conviction of like when people were like, what's your why? I was like, because I don't see myself doing anything else right now. Um, and I don't see I don't see a plan B if I don't do this. And so, yes, the idea was there through opportunity and seeing my girlfriends going through their own hardships, but also like knowing within myself that this is for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I think like as women, we hear the conversation of feminine health and like making sure that you're careful about what you're putting into your body.
Mhm.
But it's easy to not maybe ignore that or not take that as seriously. How did you know that this was like a real issue that we needed to address? Or what were some of
Yeah,
the symptoms that maybe you or the women around you were experiencing?
for sure. So for me, I think I've been fortunate enough that I haven't had anything serious yet. For me, growing up, mostly it's been just like irregular periods. And then one day after 6 months, getting like an 18-day period where I'm like, okay, this is not okay. um, but also a common thread that I often hear with women that I speak to and my girlfriends that were going through, whether it's like an IVF process or endometriosis, that the common thread is that they feel alone in their problems. And that is something that it's like like you shared, like women are community driven and we love community.
Mhm.
And so in something that everyone goes through, whether different stages of our lives, we shouldn't have to feel alone in that. And then what was the other question? I was
Totally.
like,
Well,
so
no, I mean that, yeah, that
yeah.
definitely covers it. When you in endometriosis, or maybe you haven't been diagnosed. I know that I've heard, I'm not sure how exactly the process, but that it can be hard to pinpoint like what's actually happening. And it can just be thrown under this umbrella of like, oh, you're just having a really painful period. Or,
Yeah.
it's just, it's part of it. I think for me, I was led to believe that like irregularity or really painful periods or discomfort down there was just like normal, and you just deal with it, and there's nothing going on. And I remember having a friend, a really close friend, that finally got diagnosed with endometriosis, and just the relief that she
Mhm.
had for having a reason behind all this pain that she was feeling. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. It's
it's
and like we hear it, and like I feel like we hear it more often than not now that there's like some challenge that a vulva owner is going through,
Mhm.
right? Um, and something that we weren't taught growing up is that because the inside of our uterus vagina is very like highly absorbent, like one of the most absorbent parts of our body. So the fact that we're putting something that's toxic in there with chemicals, that's going straight to your blood and into your body. And which is why like it's so important that we get to use clean products for the thing that brings life into this world, the thing that we hold our power in, the thing that we hold our creation in, more so. Um, so it's just an honoring, I feel like, to be able to treat, like, I know it can be an afterthought because it has been an afterthought for me before, but to be able to like honor her
Oh,
in a way where it's like, I love you and I'm going to give you some clean products.
totally. Totally. Oh, there's so many things I want to talk about from everything what you just said there. Um, okay, so tell us why the relationship with like her and opening up this communication
Mm,
and this connection with her and why we want to think about that and why that's so important.
yeah. So I love this question and I felt like my body just like tingle a little bit. So like this perfect.
Great.
So our throat and our uterus are both anatomically and energetically connected. So if we're not fully expressed in one area, we're not fully expressed in the other. And so I think as women, like the liberation that we get from whether that's like exploring self pleasure and also speaking our truth actually kind of go hand in hand.
Oh, oh,
and
mic drop right there. Okay, okay, sorry, continue,
and
continue.
and if you look up the meaning or if you look up the root word for neck, it's actually cervix in Latin. So both through language, both through body, both and energetically, like it's all connected. And so I've been like honest, like I feel like me even doing this work is liberation both for like my own self-expression and how I haven't done that in the past. And also my like exploration of treating myself, taking care of myself, my uterus, my vagina, my vulva, my pussy, my yoni, all of that. Um, Also liberation there.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does make me think about when I express or when I'm like recording a podcast or even
Mhm.
like when I'm writing, just the pleasure that I get from sharing my voice. And, you know, I've talked
Yeah.
about my journey with sharing my voice a little bit more and how I did feel really restricted in that. And I just have, as a personal testament to this work, like the connection that I've built and the healing that I've had to do around my pussy, my yoni,
Mm.
was absolutely connected to feeling safe in expressing myself in this world. And it's really beautiful to be in this space where, okay, I can share my voice and experience pleasure, but it didn't always used to be that way. It used to be really scary. So,
Mm.
oh, so
Yeah.
beautiful to hear about that connection. How do you deepen that connection with your yoni and really understanding like what it's asking of you or where and maybe like so two part like how do we deepen that connection and like how do we block that connection too and the
Yeah.
impact of that.
Well, first I want to say like honoring you for exploring that and doing the work and following your
Mm.
pleasure.
Mm.
Yeah, like and I think that's like the first and to answer your first question, like really like follow your pleasure. Follow your express where you want to express and let it be and let it come from a place of like I don't have to do this right or perfect. I'm just doing this because I want to do this.
Mm.
And another pleasure practice, I guess, or deepening that relationship with your yoni. So I, as women, I feel especially for like someone like you too, and like your listeners who are like creating their own companies, you know, like being their boss babes, all that sort of that stuff. We're in our masculine a lot on a day to day by in being in the doing. So I like to create a pleasure portal day, whether that's like a Saturday or like a Sunday, whatever day feels good for you. Usually for me, it's a Saturday where I say yes to whatever I want to do. If that's a slow walk around the lake, if that's like a gorgeous meal, if that's like Pilates, and then creating an hour for just purely self pleasure. Because it takes about 40 minutes for women to get fully aroused, anyways, and really taking care of yourself, like sensually, slowly, how you want to be loved by a lover um, deepens that connection. And I realize the days that I do that, I am a line for like creativity and messages, like complete line.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, pleasure portal day.
Pleasure portal day.
So delicious. So delicious. Okay, this Saturday, I know what I'm doing. Um,
Yes, block out your calendar. You're like to your partner, you're like, "Hey babe, I love you and today's my day."
I mean, yeah, yeah, I'm closing the door. Like, go do your thing. I'm gonna enjoy myself. No, it's really important. And you did point out something that is so key is when you are running a company, when you're running a business, it is so easy to get into the masculine and into the doing and feeling like you can't like do enough or I mean your to-do list is never going to end, but allowing yourself that time to really connect to your pleasure. And you said your creativity just flows from that place. What if you actually slowing down and connecting to your pleasure is the key to actually the thing that your masculine
Yeah,
wants, which is like productivity and like efficiency and effectiveness. And can you
yeah.
imagine bringing that like genuine like creativity and genuine motivation to
Mm.
work into what you're doing and how that would actually satisfy the masculine in a whole different
Oh,
way.
yeah. Oh, absolutely, and you just saying, like, satisfy the masculine, it's like, yeah, you also get to, like, satisfy, like, the feminine within you who gets to give to the masculine, right?
Yes.
Um, or I mean, mostly receive, but I would say, like, also reminding like, for me, I get to remind myself that, like, our yoni is a place of creation, and so if I'm and the other question was, like, how do you block it? Is, like, not going towards what we love or what brings us pleasure and shutting off our creative juices. I'm just gonna use juices because I feel like that's, like, relevant to this. Um,
Absolutely.
so, our creative juices and tapping into our place of creation.
Whew, it's so good. So I'm curious. So tapping into you're starting to tap into your place of creation, noticing like where are you ignoring the pleasure? And I think that um again, like coming back to it's really easy to ignore the pleasure because oftentimes it's not logical, right? It's not
Mhm.
logical to put everything on hold and spend the whole day in your pleasure portal, or even like having a slow morning where you have space for that practice, or slowing down to get really clear like what is my body actually asking, what is my yoni actually asking of me in this moment. Oftentimes it's not logical. It's like, no, but I gotta get the things
Yeah,
done. And then
yeah.
would you say that that eventually, if you ignore that long enough, is that are these starting to does this create a correlation between like deeper pain, like period pain or symptoms
Mhm.
that you're having that kind of create this disharmony in your body? Would you say that's connected?
Yeah. Wow, I mean, that's a really great question, and because there are so many things that go into us having a period that it's hard to say because it could be diet, it could be hormones, yes, and from my own personal experience, at least I can share that from my own personal experience, that when I am taking care of myself, both following my pleasure, eating well, so treating my body like a temple, and like working out and having like really nurturing relationships also, that my periods are very regular. But if I'm like stressed, not taking like my morning to drop into like my own self practice,
Mhm,
then like my period runs like has its own thing.
mhm.
So from my own personal experience, I do believe that there is that connection there.
Okay, yeah, that was a selfish question because that's definitely something that I've noticed and I'm curious, like
Yeah.
have you noticed that in your work and in studying the vulva? And I if I'm more stressed, I can almost bet on a more painful period. Um,
Absolutely.
which the more that you pay attention, and this kind of goes into another conversation around really tracking your cycle and tracking the patterns of what's happening down there and the importance of that, because you can start to make like these correlations like, oh, this week I didn't really take care of my body as much as I normally do, or leading up to my period, I did allow myself to stress, or I wasn't leaning into my breath work practices. Um, so would
Yeah.
you say that it's important to track, kind of track your cycle, and how would you even approach that?
Yeah, I would definitely say and recommend that it'd be great to track your cycle. And there's so many apps now to do it.
Yeah.
I actually have one on my phone and it's bothering me that I can't remember the name of it actually. It sends me notifications and reminders of like, okay, you are in this phase of your cycle. Don't drink coffee. If you want something, have green tea instead. There's like theanine in it, which is great for this. And also like recommending what style of like workouts, because that's another thing too. Like, and I feel like it's kind of been blowing up online a lot of just like cycle syncing and like
Mhm.
how to eat, how to work out. Um, and so all those things like come together, and having a place where you can really track and see your data of like how your body is showing up and meeting you with that is always supportive for sure.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So this question, this brings me to a question.
Mhm.
How how have you noticed that this work has changed your life? I want to go back to the metamorphosis that you said that you
Mhm.
experienced. So we're getting into the nitty-gritty of the
Yeah.
importance of this, and tracking and opening up that connection, and the anatomy of the connection between the throat and the yoni.
Mhm.
Tell us more about how this work has changed you, and your embodiment of your feminine, what that metamorphosis was like for you.
Yeah. For me, it was a lot of just creating a closer relationship with myself. I
Yeah.
think for so long, up until probably when I was like 30, I have been very detached from my body,
Yeah.
and also just like numbing my body out for so long. And also always really wanting to play it safe, because growing up I was also fat. And so that meant like I just didn't want to get attention, because if I did, that meant people had the opportunity to judge me, to make fun of me again. And that's why I played safe for like so long. And over the last like 4 years of doing this, like I feel like the work that has been going on internally under is really just like releasing my limiting beliefs that tether me to the belief that I am not capable of this. I am not worthy of this. Um, I am not worthy of receiving. Um,
Mm.
and I feel like what's really deep in the last year was expressing both fully like who I am authentically, not what I think people want me to be, or not what I think is like cool, but just authentically me.
Ooh,
Yeah.
the connection between authenticity, authentic expression, and this work. I think that, like,
Mhm.
you wouldn't necessarily think about, okay, well, I need to get on top of my health, my feminine health, my I need to create this connection with my yoni, with my pussy. It's like, yes, that's so important for the health of your body, and these desires that you have on your heart to like create something, and to receive inspiration, receive love, receive money, receive attention for what you're
Yeah,
creating. Like, all of that is connected to this. All of that is
all of it.
connected. Oh, that is so
Yes,
powerful.
absolutely. Yeah, it's all connected. Like if especially if you're like doing the work, you're like, I can't just go in like one area. Like, no, you're gonna do like all of it.
Absolutely.
Which, yeah, it's a journey, but so worth it.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so you feeling like more empowered in your voice, which is like, honestly, like that is just like the core of everything that drives
Mhm.
me as a business owner,
Yeah.
as someone who's focused on brand, which really is like speaking your truth and allowing it to be seen and allowing this visibility. What have you noticed since you've felt more empowered in your voice? How has that changed your life?
Yeah. I still have moments of like oh, should I say this or should I not? And
Mhm.
every time it feels a little stretchy, I'm like, no, that's exactly when I get to actually say
That's the invitation right there. Yeah.
it. Complete invitation.
Yeah.
But how I've seen it like change my life is that I feel like I've really just called in, and I'm so grateful for the beautiful souls and people that are in my life.
Mm.
Because by like owning my voice and really underneath owning my voice, but owning like honoring my authenticity of who I really am, I've called in just people who love me for just being me and not having to try to be a perfect version of what I think someone wants.
Mhm.
Um, or like trying to fit myself into like a crew because I'm like, oh, they look fun, or like they look great on social. And so
Oh, yeah.
owning my
Yeah.
voice, like I think I just like more than my own like liberation, and I definitely still think it's a journey for sure. Like liberation and like really just beautiful relationships.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
so beautiful. So I was stalking you obviously on social media, and you're in Austin now.
Yeah.
Were you in what was your life before this?
Before this,
Were you in
yeah.
did you live in New York? Was
It looks like it, but I didn't.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Well, no, it
Yeah.
makes me think like, okay, so but before pre-authenticity and maybe like was there a time where you were like wearing a mask
Yeah,
to fit into what you thought was like what you wanted or the people you thought you wanted to hang out with? Is that a
for
journey
sure.
you've had? I know I have.
Oh, girl, how much time do we have? But,
All the time. All the time.
I feel like that started since I was in like preschool. Oh my gosh, I just had a remembering of something. But to go back to but to owning my voice, I feel like it started from preschool when my kindergarten teacher was just like, don't open your like big, fat, filthy mouth. And I think like it's also like owning my voice is also healing my kindergarten self. To go back to that question, because that just like can't popped up in my mind. But
Wow.
for this like journey, um, on like pretending to be somebody else, I think it started from childhood because I grew up in a predominantly like Jewish neighborhood. And so I was like one of the only really Asian girls growing up. And so I always wanted to look like all the other girls, like blue eyes, blonde hair. Like that's what I wanted to look like. And so there was always that aspect of like want to look like somebody else. And in relationships too, I think I always like I'd always self-sabotage it by picturing who I think the perfect partner would be for whoever I was with. And I would try to be that version of whatever I thought their perfect version would be instead of like just myself. Um, and
Wow.
just like always trying to fit in because I always stood out. And I think
Mm,
that was like the bigger thing was just because I always stood out, I wanted to fit in.
mm,
Yeah.
mm. And now, would you say that standing out is something that you try to do?
I feel like now I'm like, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I don't want to be the same.
Right, right. Oh my God. Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful. I'm sure everyone listening can relate to something in their past or childhood or maybe even recent history of trying to fit into a box of what you thought was going to help you to receive, back to that key word, receive love,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Receive love,
yeah.
receive the validation that we wanted, and ultimately, and thank you for sharing that story. And I have a couple, it reminded me of a story that I had when I was young and in school and like probably like second or third grade. And the assignment was, well, who do you want to be when you grow up? And we
Mm.
had to stand in front of the class and tell everybody who we wanted to be and or what we wanted to do. And I just remember being kind of confused by that question. And so I stood up and I said, I just want to be happy. And I
Aw.
feel like that was coming from my soul because I was a shy, timid kid. And same thing, like I wanted to be liked And there was like a deeper part of me that understood, if I can be anything, I just want to be happy. And I remembered everybody just like laughing, like, no, you did it
Mhm.
wrong, right? You did it wrong. You're supposed to choose like what you want to do in the world. Or what I'm hearing now is like, what mask do you want to wear? And that was kind of one of those situations where I learned how to, well, don't speak the truth of your heart or what you actually want.
Mm.
And then you get older, you go through this journey and realize like, oh man, I got some healing to do. And it's through
Yeah,
that healing that you actually identify like what you are genuinely called to do. And it really feels like you've found that and you're in that space of
absolutely.
of that,
Yeah.
of
Thank you.
purpose.
And like I also like want to reflect back to you too. Like you seem very like I mean just like meeting you in person, like you seem very happy and like fulfilled. And even just like seeing you on social too, like whether that's like the work that you do or in your relationship, I feel like you are in your like dream of a little girl of like, I just want to be happy. And you're like living your dream. Look at that.
Oh, thank you for that, for reflecting that. My little girl's like jumping up and down right now.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. It really is. And I appreciate that reflection. And it can be scary to shine in that, in a world that profits on you being unhappy and unhealthy,
Absolutely.
honestly. And
Yeah.
I feel, yeah, you're over here shining your light. And um, for anyone who's really curious about learning more about okay, they're un- understanding the connection between creativity and purpose and receiving ourselves and receiving our authentic truth in this world, and they want to start to explore the portal there through their yoni, through their pussy, through their vulva, where would you tell them to start?
Well, of course, Volva, because
Yeah.
instead of searching all over online for different products, I brought everything to one space for you. And now what you can do is just like subscribe between now and the launch on 11/11. The first 50 women, I will personally curate a list of products for them that we have on the platform and courses to support them whatever like part of their journey that they're on, whether that's menstruation, birth control, fertility, menopause, intimacy. And that's where I can support right now.
Wow, amazing. So go connect with Tamy online. You connect with you on Instagram. Where can they find? So I will definitely put a link to all of your socials. I will put a link to website so you can get started. But where's your community? Where to connect with you? Is that Instagram?
Yeah,
Okay.
Instagram is perfect. So
Amazing.
the Instagram for Vulva is We Vulva. So that's WeVolva. And then the website is also just WeVulva.com.
Vōlva. And you get personal assistance from the one and only, the founder of the company, if you were the first 50. So I will put the link in the bio or in the description of this. So if you are listening to this when it comes out, jump on this. I know that, I mean, unfair advantage. I'm jumping on this. I would love to deepen into this world. So is there
Absolutely.
anything else that you feel, if you, for it could take a moment and just feel into the heart of somebody that's listening to this and feels like they're really being called to go on this journey of creating deeper connection with their yoni, is there anything else you want them to know?
Hmm. I mean, the first thing that I would say, and this is the first thing that came to mind, um, is just the phrase is just like welcome home. And I just want them to know that like do like through doing this work with themselves, it's just coming home to herself. And there lies like your love, your safety. And by being in that space, like we call in like everything that we want in our lives. And I feel like so many people are doing that work now, but just like just come home to yourself.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Welcome home. Welcome home,
Welcome home.
baby. Oh, that is so beautiful.
Welcome.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your magic. I'm just so excited for what you're launching, all you're creating. And I know that whoever's listening to this, I'm sure they're just dying to check you out. So I'll put all of the links in the
Yeah.
description. And Tamy, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I feel like we're going to have you back and
Yeah,
dive in even deeper. I know that there's just so much around this topic. So if you guys want her back
absolutely.
on the podcast, let me know and we'll make it
Mm.
happen.
Thank you, Hannah. Today was so much fun. Thanks for having me.